Support for Education, Join the Conversation is provided in part by ENA, provider of high-speed broadband connectivity and communication solutions to Vermont schools, and proud to support the Vermont Agency of Education in improving the learning opportunities for Vermont students.
Welcome to Education, Join the Conversation. We're here today to visit Chittenden East Supervisory Union and to celebrate the historic signing of a new governance reform bill for the state of Vermont. The intention of this bill is to support the goals of equity, quality, and fiscal efficiency for all of our schools. We're here to visit Chittenden East because they began this journey several years ago, and we're here to learn from their own experiences and learn what we can do as a state to provide better opportunities for our children.
Second? All right. How are you? What's your name?
My name is Tyler, and I'm in 3rd grade.
Way to go. Come on, slap me down. Good to see you.
Hey guys! We're at Smilie today because, let's be honest about this, your student count has been dropping over the years. A small elementary school, extraordinary school. We want to do the best for you, the students, to make sure you got a bright future in Vermont, but it was losing students, and the data showed that we weren't getting all the results that we wished. So what happened? You took matters into your own hands, had a collective community conversation, and reorganized in a way that guarantees that Smilie has a bright future, and most importantly, that every one of you students from pre-K on up has a bright future in Vermont. So I just gotta say, we're here because you are a shining example of what we've got to do across the state of Vermont.
Over the last decade, what has become apparent as our own enrollment has dropped, and for some of our particularly smallest schools, volatility in the tax rate, getting into budget seasons and having to be reactive because your ed spending per equalized pupil was artificially high and not knowing what to do, and then having to really think about cutting programs that are vital to students. And so that was really the genesis of the boards and the community talking about unification. And for us, it was somewhat natural because, again, I'm so proud of the Mount Mansfield Union School District that the board and the system that has always talked about student opportunities, student success, but not where students live.
50 years ago, the mindset was these are all our kids, and that's continued, for 50 years. That these are all our kids in all this school district. And once we were able to get community members to wrap their heads around that, that was our biggest challenge, but that was our big success. Stop thinking of this as an adult issue, and we had to make sure we were thinking about this as a student issue, as our kids' issue. And that was a challenge, for a lot of communities who were very vested in their schools, vested in their local control, and making decisions at a local level.
But I think this new unified board has more local control because they are able to look at the system in a very comprehensive way, not at a very finite or minute way. In many, many ways, they're going to have more control over the efficiencies, the outcomes of students over the long haul. There's also opportunities for parent-teacher groups, which have, that is where a lot of the work and the local control comes from. Anyway, that's the reality.
So I was a math teacher here at this high school, and then when I became principal, we were trying to figure out why our young learners were not doing well in Algebra 1. So we took the ones who had failed first semester Algebra 1, and I invited them for lunch with pizza. And we asked them, and we just had an informal conversation, and the superintendent was with me as well. And what they said was fascinating was, when I was in 5th grade, or when I was in 3rd grade, or when I was in 2nd grade, there was this something, fractions or concepts, and I didn't really understand it, but we just kept going. And that made me realize how important a unified curriculum is scaffolded both vertically and horizontally. So across schools, all third graders have a similar curriculum. And then the first grade speaks to the second grade, which speaks to the fifth grade, which speaks to the ninth grade, and it all aligns.
So the merger is going to get the teachers like on the same page, like curriculum-wise, and have the same resources, so they're all teaching similar ways and methods. So then when the younger students go into the middle school, they're all on like the same point and they're ready to move on.
Because a lot of our elementary schools are small and they're near each other, we can share so many more resources, and that we can have a teacher work at Underhill Independent in the morning and then go over to Underhill Central in the afternoon and teach, foreign languages, and that we could really share the resources and technology and having everything really integrated into every single school, so that when we all come together at the middle school and eventually at the high school, we've all had similar experiences and we've all had the same resources to build from.
At Smilie, some of our other schools, we had to cut text budgets. So when we're looking at implementing a reader and writer's workshop, a research-based program which is child-focused, and really we see huge gains in writing of our children, we don't have the money to pay for the curriculum or the training for teachers from particular schools. We now, together collectively, pool our resources and are more efficient with that in terms of offering combined trainings between schools. We're able to look at things differently due to the flexibility which didn't exist previously. And I see the work that I'm doing, the conversation is different. For instance, I would help supervise and work with some of the school boards, and we would spend hours working on mission and vision over the course of retreats and meetings, and this would be repeated in the 6 different school boards. And I would bet that if you took the mission statements of every single school in Vermont, they would be relatively similar. We want to serve all our children. We want them to learn. What's happened now is that conversation is in one place. And now we're really looking at the instruction. Really what matters is the instruction in the classroom, and we know how hard a job teaching is. And in order to really help us all become the best teachers we can be and reach all of our learners, we need to focus there. When we have distractions up the ladder, we're not able to focus in that area.
There are some cost savings that we're realizing coming up to this new fiscal year. There is going to be a lot more time, I guess, available without having to go to multiple boards and making the same budget presentations. The budget process will be a little more streamlined, and that will give us opportunities to do analysis on, how can we do things better? How can we save money? Is there a way of combining activities between 2 schools? It's going to be easier to blend any costs related to big capital improvements over a bigger base, and it'll be easier to absorb. And it'll make the decisions a little easier. We haven't realized it yet, but we're looking to see what we can do in the food service arena. Is there any savings that can be done there? Again, with the proximity of middle school and elementary schools, what can happen there? Same with custodial services. We're looking to see what we can do to share the staff. Some of the savings is a little bit more difficult to implement quite quickly. I mean, contracts have to go out by a certain time period, and that kind of boxes you in a little bit. The vote happened in November. The first meeting was December 18th or so. To really hit the ground running and make a lot of big changes is going to be difficult, and to be ready on time July 1. It's going to be the easy ones in the first year. It's going to be a little bit of a transition year. There'll be a lot more planning and studying as to what we can do and how to implement any other changes we have. We'll see more of that as we get into the second year.
I felt like Smilie is a perfect backdrop and site for the signing of this bill, not maybe for some of the reasons that others might think. I was principal here about 10 years ago, and we had coined a phrase during that time that I shared in the beginning, which was, Smilie is the happiest school in America. And after a few months as principal, I realized why. You could walk around the building and you could watch parents and community members and staff interacting with students, and there was empathy, compassion, cooperation, and love for the people in the building and in the community.
And Smilie is a perfect example of a school that, a few years ago was wondering whether they were going to still be here or not. The success that was achieved and only achieved because we were able to unify into one district.
We really came up with, I think, something that resonated with folks around we're better off together. We're better off united, and here's why. And we can show you an example of 50 years of cooperation that has really, really worked.
Support for Education, Join the Conversation is provided in part by ENA, provider of high-speed broadband connectivity and communication solutions to Vermont schools, and proud to support the Vermont Agency of Education in improving the learning opportunities for Vermont students.